Austin St. John entered in his plea of guilty. He admitted to committing wire fraud. He also, in addition to committing wire fraud, he fingered, or you could say snitched on Andrew Moran and Cord Newman, which he is photo here. But the big question is, how do I know how much time ASJ is going to get? Well, the reason I know how much time ASJ is going to get is because someone pled guilty in the first one. Okay, so who pled guilty, right? If you go back to the original indictment, the first one, you would see Gregory Hatley. He pled guilty. He received $184,000 for his construction company. The IP address was back to Moran's, and he spent $70,000 on buying a car. All right, so you're like, well, Henry, this is Hatley. What the hell does this have to do with ASJ? Well, that is a great question, okay? Because you see, by his guilty plea, this was filed 12/20/2022. This was shortly after, 7 months after they got arrested. He entered his guilty plea on count 1 of the indictment, which we know is conspiracy to commit wire fraud. All right, you like, okay, he pled guilty. What of it, Henry? What does this mean? Well, I'm happy you asked, because he was sentenced. Yeah.
That nigga is guilty!
So, May was a big month for the United States District Attorney. This was filed. He was sentenced on this date. I looked up his court docket. That's how I know Austin St. John, I know how much time he's going to get. All right, so look, let's look this through. Here we go. Hey, he pled guilty to counts before. Count 1 of the indictment. The original defense is conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Okay. The offense ended on 5/22 or 5/12. That's when the indictment was gone. Everyone got arrested. What happened? How do you know? Signed off by the judge, May 3rd. Judge is like, okay, your sentence. Here is your fate. Imprisonment. 6 months. So you like, damn, 6 months? Yes, 6 months. 6 months is the likely amount of time that Austin St. John will do. And if you notice, he's like, hey, see if he can go to Seagoville Penitentiary. And you like, well, what is Seagoville? Seagoville FCI. Okay. Well, I looked it up. Give me a second to go. Seagoville FCI is a it is a low security prison. I know this is not what you wanted to hear, but that's what it is. Federal Correction Institute, Seagoville, is a low security United States federal prison for male inmates in Seagoville, Texas. So chances are Austin St. John will be at Seagoville at this low security prison. It's their version of Club Fed, as some would call it. It's a nice prison. There's no booty gang warriors out there. All right. So what's the condition? All right. So he's going to Seagoville. Now, while in prison, he will pay 50% of his earnings per pay period to his outstanding monetary penalties, because we're going to talk about his monetary penalties coming up next. Okay, so what happens? Now, this guy who did the same crime as Austin St. John, the same plea deal, we don't know if he's snitching or not. The defendant shall surrender for service of the sentence at the institution designated by the Bureau of Prisons. So they're trying to get him in the Club Fed before 2 p.m. on June 19th. So this guy, he's going to put in his 6 months, June 19th, and should be out by Christmas. So you're like, look, I'm going home, but it doesn't stop there. Okay? Because he's given, in addition to the 6 months prison, Austin St. John will likely get the same sentence, 3 years supervised release. So what are the conditions? They're not going to drug test his ass because, he's going to say he's low risk. But he must make restitution in accordance to the law. So he's going to have to pay back the money. Also, they're going to have to swab his cheek. We're going to make sure keep his DNA on file just in case some other shit come up. Now you have the standard conditions of supervised release. All right, let's go. So when he gets out of jail, he is likely going to have to report to a probation officer, where you are authorized to reside within 72 hours of your release from imprisonment, unless the probation officer instructs you to report to a different probation office or within a different time frame. So he's going to have a probation officer. Now, look, I'm not going to read all of these, but I'll read the ones that are important. Okay. Now, you must work a full time, at least 30 hours per week at a lawful type of employment, unless the probation officer excuses you for doing so. So I wonder, do cons play a part or do this? Now, I know people are upset, but don't worry. You know, this is how the government play. Bad, Austin. Bad. Don't do that no more. 6 months, club fit, pay back the money. What else? If you plan to change where you work or anything about your work, you got to notify the probation officer at least 10 days before, in advance. And what else? You must know the probation officer within 72 hours of becoming aware of a change or expected change. So look, you make a change, you got to know. Now, number 10 is going to disarm his ass. So, hey, you must not own, possess, or have access to a firearm, ammunition, destructive device, or dangerous weapon, anything that was designed or modified for a specific purpose of causing bodily injury or death to another person, such as nunchuckers or tasers. What about a 900-year-old katana? But the big part is his firearms. Austin St. John, you know, embraces his 2A just as much as I do. But, you know, some people will say he loses the ability to protect his family. Now, there's a stipulation. The wife, you can't say, hey, the guns are my wife. That shit don't slide with the government. No guns in the house. Because, as I proved in another stream, that's considered possession. So no guns, no knife, no katanas, no nunchucks, no deadly weapons, no tasers in the house. Hey, you got an emergency, you better call 911. You better call the police. And we're not going to be to rescue. Maybe we can, you know, mitigate the circumstances. But, you know, this hurts. Giving up your ability to defend yourself. Okay, now 11. I thought this was funny. You must not make any agreement with law enforcement agencies to act as a confidential human source of or informant without first getting permission of the court. Hey, look, you want to snitch again, ASJ? You're gonna have to check in with us to see if that shit is cool. We don't want your ass just out here willy-nilly snitching. All right, look, check in with us. Check in. Now, special conditions of supervision. This is what I did find interesting. Hey, you must provide the probation officer with access to any requested financial information for purposes of monitoring restitution payments and employment. So all his books are now public, or at least the probation officer can request them at any time. This is not for Austin St. John, but this is for someone who committed the same crime, who took the plea deal early. Remember, Austin St. John's is sealed. You must not incur new credit charges or open additional lines of credit without approval of the probation officer, unless payment of financial obligation. So no new lines of credit. Hey, no more freaking government loans. That shit's done. They like, you want a loan? No. Ring the bell on that shit. Okay. What else? We got a couple more pages here. Now, this guy stole $184,000. Remember, Austin St. John stole $200,000. And David, I'm gonna get that super chat in a minute. Austin St. John was given $225,000. So he must make restitution to the following payees, which is the United States government. And here we go. The court determined that the defendant does not have the ability to pay interest and is ordered that the interest requirement is waived for the restitution. So ASJ will likely get this deal. No interest on the money. All right, so he's getting it. And this is the schedule of payments. A lump sum payment is due immediately. Well, there's a caveat. In accordance, right? In accordance with F, which is below. So you go to F, and it says, this is Austin St. John's future, probably before or after jail or whenever he start making his restitution payments. Maybe you start it now. Special instructions for the criminal monetary penalties. It's ordered that the defendant shall pay the United States a special assessment of $100. So ASJ gonna have $100, which shall be due immediately. Said special assessment shall be paid to the clerk. Any monetary penalty that remains unpaid when your supervision commences is to be paid on a monthly basis at a rate of 10% of your gross income. Also, if you receive an inheritance, settlement, gifts, tax refunds, lawsuit awards, within 5 days of receipt, you're to apply 100% of that value to your restitution payment. Oh my goodness. So he really gonna be in a perpetual bind, especially if he can't get back some of that money that was stolen. Okay. All right. I mean, I'm just saying, like, this is what happens. Now, the percentage or gross of income to be paid with respect to restitution is to be changed during supervision if needed based on your change in circumstances. So if you start making more money, making less money, maybe his payments may go down. And that is pretty much what's going to happen to ASJ. And we're using this based on the fact that Gregory took a guilty plea to wire fraud, and here's his restitution. And we know he's getting 6 months of jail time at Club Fed in Texas. So chances are this is the same sentence that Austin St. John will get. What do you guys think about this? Is 6 months too lenient, too long, not enough? It still could be more. We don't know for sure, but I can't imagine him getting less time than the guy who snitched right out the gate. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. See you next video. Peace.